One of the most fantastic treasure stories is the story of the lost Adams mine. While some say it's a legend, on the other hand there are still some out there who are still looking for it. Adams, for whom the legend became known, and whose first name forever has been lost to history, was journeying in his wagon from the state of New York to Tucson. After Apaches set his wagon on fire, Adams drove a dozen saved horses towards Sacaton, Arizona, with the hope to sell them. In Sacaton, Adams met a group of 21 miners led by John Brewer, traveling together in search of the goldfields. The party also encountered the Pima Mexican guide who promised the prospectors to lead them to the Valley of Gold. He said, "I know a place where canyon walls cry tears of gold every day. And those tears are larger than your coins." That Pima Mexican guide sure had a story to tell. Back in 1862, the young Pima Mexican had gone on an expedition with some Apaches, when they attacked some Pueblo Indians in western New Mexico. While on the expedition he had seen gold nuggets that were larger than oak nuts. The young man had an appreciation for metal works made out of silver and turquoise, but had no knowledge of the value of gold. The miners made a bargain with the guide who only asked for a horse, a saddle, a weapon and some of the gold in exchange. The group was also badly in need of horses, and when by fate Adams appeared in Sacaton with his 12 horses, Brewer struck a deal with Adams, on the terms that Adams would share leadership with him, in exchange for donating his horses. Along with their guide, the group followed the White River in its east fork into the White Mountains and entered western New Mexico. The guide paused and pointed to two mountains that were shaped like sugar loaves. "The Gold Canyon lies at the foot of those peaks," the guide said. According to Adams, from that mountain lookout, the miners were able to observe the San Francisco Mountains. Adams thought that this mountain range was located on Mount Ord, or on one of the mountaintops nearby. The miners entered a canyon with a fantastic gold deposit, through the little door, as Adams referred to it. He said that the passageway was so narrow, that the riders had to enter it one by one. Within a few days the group had collected a fortune of gold nuggets that they hid in a corn grinding basin, left by ancient Indians. The young guide left the miners on the second night after the discovery and after being paid. Before leaving, the guide issued a warning. He told the group not to stay long in the canyon because that was a campsite for Apaches. The miners continued to mine the gold until they had run out of supplies. Then the party decided to send Brewer and another 5 people, to buy more supplies at Old Fort Wingate, west of modern-day Grants. 9 days after the party had left for more provisions and had not returned, Adams became concerned about their safety. Along with another miner named Davidson, Adams climbed out of the canyon to discover 5 bodies on the trail. Brewer was not among them. The two raced back towards camp, but it was too late. A large party of Indians had already reached the camp and killed the remaining miners. Days later, Adams was found by a military patrol wandering in the wilderness and out of his mind. Upon recovery, Adams settled in California, and when the Apache Wars had ended, he led several expeditions to find the canyon and that basin filled with gold. Adams must have had a terrible sense of direction, because after so many years of searching, his quest proved hopeless. But in his search he inspired others to join the hunt. For decades, the Zuni Mountains were considered the most plausible location of the diggings. Thousands of prospectors, ranch hands, and men of fortune searched this area, and the rest of southwestern New Mexico, prior to World War II, as the Adams diggings became the most sought-after gold in the country. The combination of the Depression, and the deregulation of the gold market, prompted the most unlikely people to search for the diggings. Between 1895 and 1930, several large logging communities flourished in the Zuni Mountains. Several with schools and post offices. Even wide-gauge railroads crisscrossed the mountains. The loggers were all well aware of the Adams legend, as it had become a nationally known story. Between running logs, nothing was more common than prospecting for gold, except for drinking. Rumors of gold in the Zuni Mountains had become so common, that the United States government ordered several geological expeditions in the years between World War I and World War II, to verify whether this claim could be supported. The geologists found nothing. Then in the 1950s, the area was thoroughly re-explored for uranium during the uranium boom, around Grants, New Mexico. Eventually the obsession with the Zuni Mountains as a host for the Adams diggings faded, but there are still a few hardened prospectors, who venture into the mountains, looking for that narrow door. I hope you enjoyed this short story of the lost Adam's mine.